All right, gentlemen and boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of the Blind Pig, courtesy of BGObsession.com. Happy to be back with football on the docket. We're 4 days away from our first preseason game, so we can actually talk about something that might have some on-field effect as opposed to all the other stuff, even though we'll start off the field and we'll get on field. But before we get rolling, I'll do intros. That too. Oh,
what he said.
I'll join the party with you there, John, so you're not by yourself. All right. Top left, we'll go Boone, also known as John. Bottom left is Paul. You great. Also known as Canadian Hog. Bottom right is Bob. You can call him Neophyte. And top right is Mark. You can call him Ohm. You can call me Derek or Silent Threat or that guy. Whatever you would like to do. Please feel free to jump on bgobsession.com. Jump in the conversation. We've actually had a couple new members join in the last couple of weeks, and they've been actually pretty active, which is pretty cool. You know, the more voices that we hear, the better, the more conversation. And we might actually invite you to be on here or laugh behind your back. I'm kidding. All right.
Derek, one thing I want to mention this time of the year, one thing we do better than any other Redskins / Washington football team Commanders fan site is we have some great contests. We have a NFL Pick'em contest. We have fantasy football. We've got a Survivor League. Paul's got you'll have to help me out with the name of that one, Paul. But
Crystal Ball.
Crystal Ball pool, yeah.
The Crystal Ball, where you basically predict who's going to win each conference and division, and through the playoffs, it's pretty great contest. So anyway, we do give prizes for those contests. So anyway, that's a good reason to come join us and check it out. It's always free as long as all you got to do is register to be a member, and you're eligible for all of those contests.
And bring it, because we take some of those contests seriously.
Yes, we do. That is true. All right. I think to kick things off, Mark, you had mentioned an interesting article or some breaking news today. And if you want to touch on that, we can all kind of react. I've been at work all day long, and I wasn't able to follow up on it.
Hard to tell where this leads or what it might mean at first blush here, but today the Maryland Lottery and Gaming Commission heard from our erstwhile owner, Dan Snyder, who appeared in a Zoom meeting audio only, because apparently he said he was having Wi-Fi issues, so you couldn't actually see where he was. Chances are he's still out of the country, but he was appearing before them to apply for a license for in-game or for in-stadium betting at FedEx Field. The commission listened to him. I saw a little snapshot of the Zoom meeting. There were 12 of them sitting there. 7 voted. They voted 7-1 to approve, and there were a couple of quotes about that the staff they were unable to substantiate any of the allegations against Mr. Snyder, so they went ahead and voted to approve. So this is phase 1 of this. Phase 2, it goes to the where'd it go? The regulatory oversight for the Maryland Lottery and Gaming Commission for a final vote on whether it's going to be approved. And according to this article on WTOP, they've never not approved one that's gotten to this point. So chances are there's going to be some sort of a betting facility at FedEx. Not clear if it's likely to happen this year or not. What I was curious about and interested in, there's only one other team in the NFL right now who has a similar setup, and that's the Arizona Cardinals. In Maryland, the Ravens have chosen not to pursue that to this point. So it looks like, unless something weird happens or Dan gets taken off to jail, he's going to have betting at the stadium, like maybe as early as this year. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
I was more focused. We'll get around to that, the question that you're asking, Mark, but I just wanted to comment about, because I did listen to the audio. First thing, it's interesting that he's not really the team president or the CEO, right? But he's going forward as the individual. Like, why would his wife not take that measure forward? Maybe there's legal reasons why she couldn't. But I thought that that's just another, glimpse at the charade of him not being actively involved in critical team activities. He also said that the stadium experience, that they'd made all these incredible improvements, and maybe they have. That remains to be seen. And then the last thing that caught my attention was he said that he implied that the only reason attendance was terrible is that we haven't had a good quarterback in the past, and now we finally got a quarterback. That he didn't draft, by the way, just to make that clear. So I don't know. I those are all the negative, horrible things that I honed in on. I never even got around to thinking about is gambling at FedEx really something we want or need, but
I'm not sure it's going to affect anything either way. But I did hear the audio, and I'll shut up. But it struck me again, as it has every time I've ever heard that man talk. He talks like a seventh grader in front of the school assembly, like he's just scared to death. He can't get a sentence out. It's awkward. It's painful to listen to. It's remarkable to me that he ever made any money. It just sounds like a guy that sort of stumbled ass backwards into where he is in life. On
something that he knew he could have prepared his remarks and read them off of a piece of paper, right? I mean,
yep. Really that was the same thought I had. And I guess as far as Tanya, my understanding is he is not allowed to have anything to do with the day-to-day operations, but he was still working on stadium issues. I thought that was sort of how they had carved out his suspension. I might be wrong about that though.
Well, according to the team, he wasn't suspended. This was a voluntary step away. And then on top of that, I'm pretty sure putting a gambling site in the facility where your professional team plays as part of the day-to-day operations, just my opinion. I think it's laughable that they say there's all these upgrades. I had somebody that went up there and when they got their season tickets and they picked out their seats in the a couple months ago, and the railing hadn't been fixed, that almost fell on Jalen Hurts. At that point, I mean, we were 90 days, 100 days removed from the season, so I'm not assuming that there's any upgrades. I just think this, what this sounds like to me? It sounds like to me he's trying to get himself supplanted more into Maryland because nobody else wants to give him any more money.
Yep.
And that's fair.
And if he can turn a profit now at FedEx Field through that pays more Maryland taxes, he might think he has a bargaining chip saying, hey, I'm scratching your back, scratch mine, give me give me $500 million on a new stadium or something. So
they've got to be really nervous about like whether they can turn the attendance thing around, even if the team starts playing better, because after that training camp, after kind of the fan lack of interest in even going to training camp, and I know that may have had something to do with like how
that was self-inflicted.
But still, that to me that really kind of caught my eye. Like, wow, I mean, I've never seen a training camp that wasn't just absolutely overrun with fans.
Well, you know about why that was, right?
Yeah. I mean,
with the lottery, not to go on a tangent.
Yeah,
there are a lot of people that couldn't go this year that have been for years and years and years because they didn't get chosen in the lottery. I think that sucks, but I had a couple of thoughts.
Tells you how out of touch they are, Bob. I mean, to think you're going to need a lottery.
Right. So I had a couple of thoughts while I was listening to Mark, because this is all news to me in the last 10 minutes. Right. I had a lousy day at work. And so I have not been up on the latest Commanders news, at least in the last 24 to 48 hours. And my first thought was, I'm not worth $1 million. I'm not worth $500,000. And I have a Zoom connection tonight. Dan Snyder's worth billions. I'm sorry, if you're worth billions and you can't get a Zoom connection,
well played.
You're fucked. And you're probably lying to somebody. I mean, that's just really what it comes down to, right? We live in a technology era, and I'm sorry, but I'm your average middle class American who's been working for 40 years. And I have a positive Zoom connection tonight. I have a positive network connection. And if Dan is telling somebody that he can't get that, I'm sorry, there's no other way to put this. He's lying. It's not possible.
It is weird.
This world, in this era, it's not possible. So that's point one. Point two is I don't want Dan Snyder anywhere near gambling because the man would cheat his grandmother. And oh my gosh, gambling in his stadium. If the NFL and the Maryland Gaming Commission are okay with this, then they all have screws loose. And I don't understand it. I do understand it. It's all about the almighty dollar and everybody wants to make some. And Dan Snyder has proven he knows how to do that. He hasn't proven he can do anything else in this world except piss people off. Those are the two things Dan has proven he can do. Make a dollar and piss everybody off.
He hasn't even proven he can make a dollar. He inherited 1/32 of the easiest profitable business in the world that is basically untouchable by any recession or issue when it comes to financial. He lucked into the Washington Redskins at the time. He did nothing to generate any revenue for that business or grow that.
He did build Snyder Communications. And as much as I feel like he probably did it on unethical grounds, it was legal. Everything he did was legal as best I can tell. Whether it was ethical or not is a different matter, but he was legal and he made himself a multimillionaire out of nothing, Derek. And that's, he's proven he can figure out how to make a buck.
Guess who else does that? They're on TikTok every freaking day. Okay. Let's talk. Business savvy is not a part of that conversation.
So if gambling inside FedEx Field during games becomes a real thing, they're gonna have to do a really good job of making sure players and referees don't have cell phones. That's all I'm saying. Because that's, that'll be the next thing that happens.
So I haven't really dug into this, but part of the article and something that surprised me is that the way they worded is that if this all happens, the Commanders would likely open a sports betting lounge inside the stadium, similar to Capital One Arena and Nationals Park in Washington, D.C.
Cap One has a sports book.
So it's not like this is unprecedented, but it's finally coming to Washington. I think my takeaway, last thing I'll say about this is the timing. He could surface for a Zoom meeting with the Maryland Gaming and Lottery Commission, but he couldn't really appear before Congress and make that work. It's just so Snyder. I don't even know what else to say about it.
My guess is he's still on his boat, Mark.
That's hard to get Wi-Fi in the Mediterranean.
Bullshit, not with a satellite dish.
Do they have any plans to bring prostitution into the stadium as well? Because I'm sure that could drive a lot of revenue. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there.
What?
We're back.
On that note,
we're back, baby.
Paul, you have anything to react? You've been kind of.
Yeah, no, the only thing that I was going to add, and Mark kind of said it there at the end. When was the last time that we've ever heard Dan Snyder talk at the end of the season, address our fan base? Never happens. But here we are where the guy is basically applying to get a betting license in the stadium. And now all of a sudden he has surfaced, right?
Yeah, he's not missing that appointment.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So
this is why we're not going to get swag bags from Jason Wright, you guys. It's just not going to happen.
Or a leather jacket. I want my jacket, damn it. To the matters at hand. I'm going to softball it to you guys to begin with, and let's just get it out of the way. We're getting ready to go into a very pivotal season, and the elephant in the room is Wentz. Have you guys? I don't know who's been following camp at all. So I'll wait until the end to react to you guys reacting. But Wentz will be playing on Saturday at 1:00 against Carolina. So it's going to be the first time we see him with what you would consider to be as close to live bullets as we've seen in our uniform. What are you guys looking? What is your expectation? What's going to be satisfying? What's going to be positive? What's going to be negative? Where are you guys at on Saturday, Carson Wentz edition specifically?
Paul, bring it from Canada, brother.
All right. So the big thing for me that I would like to see from Carson Wentz, in his opportunities that he's going to have in the preseason, but more importantly throughout the regular season as well, I basically want to see the guy put our playmakers in a position to succeed. The depth of playmaking ability on our team is vastly improved. I think, when you think of the fact that we have McLaurin, we have Dotson, who's getting a lot of positive reviews. Samuel's hopefully going to be healthy. McKissick and Gibson, are two important pieces as well. The guy doesn't need to be a world beater. He doesn't need to carry this team on his back. Get the ball in the hands of our playmakers and let them do their thing. I think that he is insulated and surrounded by enough talent on this team that if he plays within himself, we can be quite successful. I've been doing a little bit of digging over the last little bit, and it was just for all the flack that Wentz takes, I was quite intrigued to find out that in the last 5 seasons, the guy has been top 15 in quarterback rating in 4 of the last 5 seasons. So again, the guy doesn't need to be a world beater. If he can be that guy, a top half of the league quarterback in terms of consistency and production, I think we're going to be just fine. So put our playmakers in a position to succeed. And I think that it can only be positive and upwards from there.
I'm with you. He's I went back and looked at a bunch of Wentz highlights over the last couple of days because I hadn't done that for about a month. And I'm struck again by since Paul, you talked about my thought originally was going to be to talk about, I want to see him operate within the offense, look like he knows where the reads are. And it's early. It's obviously not going to be a polished product, but I want it to look like he's in charge of the offense and he's ahead of the defense and not reacting to the defense already. As on a just purely watching him from a football standpoint, I keep hearing, and I've been hearing that he's inconsistent all through camp, right? He has terrible days, and then all of a sudden he has a great day, which is kind of what I've expected from Wentz based on his career, that we're going to have some real wow days out of him. And then we're going to have other days that you're just kind of face palming and wondering what he was thinking. The other thing that I keep hearing about is lack of accuracy. And I've been hearing that in camp too. So that's specifically what I'm going to be looking at is his mechanics and his accuracy and within the framework of knowing where people are supposed to be. He throws off his back foot a lot and he throws sidearm a lot. He's kind of an ungainly guy. He's this big raw bone kind of, I think he's a little goofy physically and when he talks, but when he's on, he throws some amazing passes and gets away with them because his arm is just ridiculous. But I want to see him hit people who are open in stride and look like he knows what he's doing. And that's a lot to ask for the first preseason game and maybe a series or two. But if I walk away thinking like, okay, he looked like a pro and this might develop, that'll be a win.
So I saw this, I saw a guy post on Twitter right before we started tonight, talking about how, we always do the same thing. We as in fans, we talked ourselves into Fitzpatrick. That lasted all of like half a quarter about how great he was going to be. And then we talked ourselves into, we talked ourselves into Heineke, that he was going to be, this amazing gem. And maybe he is to a certain extent, and that we're doing the same thing with Wentz. But I just think, and I'll keep saying this, people focus on the kind of the history he's got of like in the biggest moments, he'll make a mistake. But that's really pretty unfair when you look at his career stats. Like I keep hearing not only that he's been inaccurate in training camp, but that he is inaccurate, period. He's not an accurate quarterback. He's almost a 63% completion guy over multiple seasons. That's not inaccurate, not in today's NFL. He in the 3 seasons he's played the full season, he's averaged 3,700 yards. He has almost three times as many touchdowns as he does interceptions. So he's not an interception machine. And that's not to poo-poo the concerns about him in the big moments, but he's a pretty damn good quarterback from a statistical point of view. And I won't go farther than that. I think the biggest thing is I just want to see him getting the ball out quickly, because I think like Taylor Heineke, when he holds on to the ball and tries to play hero ball, that's when he gets into trouble. I think when he throws on time, and when Mark kind of used the frame of reference of playing within the system, he's pretty solid. He's the best quarterback we'll have seen under center in a long time. So anyway, I think the other thing is, he's kind of alternated full seasons with injury seasons. So I think that goes along with getting the ball out on time is don't take off if you don't need to. Don't take big hits. Don't hold on to the ball back in the pocket for too long and take big shots. So that's what I want to see is just him playing within himself and playing smart.
I guess I'm the weird guy out. I don't expect shit. And I don't expect to see it either. And here's the thing. It's preseason. Scott Turner's still playing with the offense. Every single guy on this offense is still learning it, even if they've been in it for a year or two, because Turner's putting things back in that haven't been in a couple of years. Turner's putting things in that he couldn't do with anybody until he got Wentz or until he got Jahan Dotson or until he knew he was going to have Terry McLaurin for the next 3 years. The other thing is there's not going to be game planning. They are running a script of plays designed to see whether or not guys do certain things. And so I don't expect shit out of Carson Wentz this weekend or next weekend or the weekend after that. I'll tell you when I expect something, and that's the second weekend in September. That's when the team will have looked at film around the opponent. They will have designed something that they think can beat the opponent specifically. They will be running specific plays, and Scott Turner will theoretically be calling a game plan designed to win, not designed to figure out who studied last night. And I don't know. I guess after 40 some odd years of watching the NFL, it's finally sunk in that none of us know shit about the preseason. The only people that know anything about the preseason are the guys sitting in the booth and the guys patrolling the sideline. The rest of us are in the dark, praying we know something.
Bob, for a long time, I've equated it to preseason baseball, where a pitcher will give up 9 home runs because he's trying to see if he can get enough bite on his slider. And by the 4th guy at the plate, they know it's coming.
Exactly. Yeah.
Remember Osaka, we know it means nothing. It means nothing in relation to how the team's going to perform in the regular season. We know that.
Yeah, Bob, for a long time, I felt that way. And I do agree with you. The guy wants to work on his changeup. So he's throwing lollipops for 6 innings. And they're like, oh God, he's going to have a 12 ERA during the regular season when he's throwing pitches he's never going to throw during the regular season.
Yeah. And lo and behold, during the regular season, he's got a 0.3 ERA because by God, all that work paid off.
Right.
Yeah.
To that point, all I want to see is our offense look different. I don't want to see vanilla. I don't want to see, every pass be around the line of scrimmage. You're
going to be disappointed. It's preseason.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not saying I need to see deep shots. I'm not saying I'm trying to run up the score. I just want to see it look different. I want if they're working to see who can do what, I want to see if they're trying to get the offensive line and make sure they have the time to get the ball out, that it's not just the basic packages that we've seen in the past. Take a shot or two. Now, that doesn't even mean it needs to connect, okay? I just want to see if they're going to be willing to do it, if our receiver is going to win the matchup. And I'm speaking from Wentz because he's the one that's opening that up. I want to see a different offense. I don't want to see the same thing. Yeah. It's not going to ruin my preseason if I do see vanilla, but it's going to make me feel a lot better about Wentz if it's not vanilla.
Yeah, let me backtrack for just a second. If there's one thing I want to see, it's a couple of balls that travel 40 yards in the air and trying to hit a guy running wide open behind the safety, because that's
I thought you were talking about Tress Way.
Yeah, well, oh, that's fair. That's fair. But no, I mean off the arm, not off the foot. I want to see Wentz throw a couple of balls 40 yards in the air, and I want to see guys running free behind the safeties. I want to know going into week 1 that the deep shot is at least a possibility, because it hasn't been a real possibility in this town in a while. We haven't scared anybody with speed and depth in a long time. And I want to see at least 2-3 shots on Saturday that make somebody rethink having 8 guys in the box. There you
That's
go.
what I mean. Same thing. I just want to see something different. And it doesn't have to connect. It doesn't have to be gorgeous. Something different. Maybe let Wentz hit that 18-yard out route that we haven't been able to hit from one sideline to the other. You know, something different, something that brings a different dynamic to the offense because Wentz is the quarterback.
Well, that's what I was talking about. I want to see the accuracy. If there is an 18-yard out and the guy's open and Carson is throwing to him, I don't care if it's preseason or not. I want to see him deliver the ball on target.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go too far down this tangent. I just wanted to mention, like, if anyone else had this thought, like all the criticism that Wentz took in his first season in Indy, I never hear anyone say it was his first season in Indy. It's always, it's always in the context of like he should have gone in there and lit it up. And I'm like, I told a friend of mine, you know, when Brady went to Tampa Bay, he looked terrible for, a little while. He looked
6-7 weeks, right?
And now he's Tom Brady. He won a Super Bowl, but it did not go really great right out of the gate. So I'm not making excuses for Wentz, because he's got a lot of talent around him, and hopefully he can pick it up quickly. But I do think that's a little bit of a factor that people, it's not Madden, you know, people say that, but then they talk about it like it's Madden, like, yeah, it takes time, especially, you know, coming into a new offense, all new players. I can't imagine that it's just like snapping your fingers. It's got to take some time to gel a little bit.
And we've said this before, and here's one of the things that I guess I am kind of looking at, but it doesn't necessarily depend on Wentz. I want to see evidence of what we all think, and what we all think is that he's playing with the most talented offense he's ever played with in his entire NFL career. And I don't mean by a little bit. I mean, I'm pretty sure our third receiver would be his number 1 receiver on any other team he's ever played on. And I don't, that's not hyperbole. I mean that when I say that. You know, he's played with some really good receivers before, but, you know, I'm thinking about last year at the Colts, and probably his best receiver is well past his prime. You know, and now if he'd had, oh my gosh, and now the guy's name is, I've had him on my fantasy team like 4 times. T.Y. Hilton, right? Yeah. If he'd had Hilton in his prime, that's a different matter. But Hilton's not in his prime anymore, and Hilton would be the 4th receiver on this team. At best, 4th receiver on this team. And so what I'm looking for is, I guess, a different level, because the talent around Carson Wentz is very, very different than it has ever been in his entire career. And if he can't produce with this talent, he simply can't produce.
Well, Scott Turner's got a lot of pressure on him this year.
Yes.
I don't know if we talked about that, but, you know, those of us who are pro Scott Turner, we've been, you know, kind of we have been making excuses for him for however long it's been, 2 or 3 seasons. So he really has no excuses now, not to have a top 10 offense at minimum.
We're not going to see that on Saturday in
No,
Carolina.
We're not. I hope my point didn't get misconstructed. Like, I'm not expecting us to see a completely different playbook, different set of plays, a different offense, No, I just want to see flashes that this offense is, that Wentz brings something to this offense that we have not been able to see before.
I tell you what, when he cuts it loose,
it
for
goes
anything 15, 20 yards. So that, I was trying to think of the last quarterback we've had here who had an arm that made just go, Jesus. Jay Schrader could wing it. Jason Campbell could.
Griffin could throw it, Mark.
Mark had a beautiful deep ball, but he didn't have, The ball
intermediate stuff.
jumps.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
ball
Dan Humphries could wing it. I don't know.
but not right. But you have to really start digging. I mean,
Grossman
Sonny
could
had
wing
an
it. Let's
arm.
be honest. Grossman
But
could wing it. He's no
Carson
idea where it was going.
he'll throw a 35, 40-yard rope off his back foot with the guy in his face. I mean, we haven't seen an arm like that. I almost guarantee you're going to see at least one or two of those Saturday. Whether they go to our guys or not will be a big thing we'll be talking about next week. But Paul, you haven't weighed in, my friend.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
you
did. I
opened this-
started it off.
Yeah, you threw it at him and he started it.
Who
But
else?
never-
He's just been
So let's
quiet
get
ever
away
since.
from Wentz, man. Let's get away from Wentz.
What's in this?
Who else are we? And again, we're not talking about just the Carolina game, just to clarify that, obviously. What other players are you guys most curious to see early on this year?
Dotson.
And it can be, I think it can be good or bad. What do you know what I mean? Like, where are you focused? Start specifically Saturday, but across the preseason.
Dotson on offense and Davis on defense. There's been so much talk about Dotson in his amazing catch radius and the fact that the guy's got hands like fly paper. I'm trying to remember. I want to say it was one of the beat reporters like last week said Terry McLaurin is not the best receiver on this team.
It was
Yeah,
And he was
that sounds like a JP Finley quote.
no, because if it had been Finley, I'd have written it off.
no, it was Logan
Oh,
Paulson.
man.
Yeah, well, that's okay. And so not a beat reporter, but an ex-player. You know, that Dotson is potentially or is already the best receiver in this offense, which I find a little mind-boggling. And then of course
I
on
think
defense,
Without playing a regular season snap, it's
right.
It's borderline dumb. I mean,
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But
I hope it's true, but
well, but this is a guy that's been through training camp and been through regular season and theoretically he knows what he's looking at, right? I mean, he's been on teams with great receivers and on teams with not so great receivers. But anyway, and then the other guy is Jamin Davis. I realized that Paul, by the way, the Commander's coffee thread was a brilliant idea. You need to keep that up.
Every Monday.
I love that thread on BGO. I thought that was a brilliant idea. Thank you very much.
Yep.
But I realized that I came down on the side of Sweat. I'm not really going to pay much attention to Sweat in the preseason. Jamin Davis is the guy I'm looking at on the defense. I want to see some improvement. I want to see a guy that's not thinking so much and is more reacting. I think he may be the key to the defense this year, more so even than Cole Holcomb. So there you go.
Curtis Samuel, we got to see something from him, man, and we got to see it early. I've been talking because I'm a Carolina guy. I've been talking about how good he is, and I'm so sick of talking about how good he is because he has not done a damn thing in DC. So he's got to right out of the gate. Oh my God, if they don't play him at all in the preseason because they're playing it safe or however
It's a part of the plan. It's what they're
part of the plan. There you go. They have to get him out here and show that he's like healthy, and that's going to change. If Curtis Samuel is healthy this year, that is going to be a big factor because how in the hell are you going to cover our receivers? I don't know how you're going to cover them.
To also build off of what Bob was mentioning, because he was talking about Davis, I'm really, really interested in seeing how that second year group of players as a whole responds. When you think of a guy like De'Ami Brown, Sam Cosmi, St. Just, Bates, those guys have huge roles to play on this team this coming year. And I think for us to be able to elevate to that next level as a team, yeah, sure, we need Wentz to be the good Carson Wentz, but over and above that, we need that second year group of draftees from a year ago to really, really step up and answer some questions that surrounded a few of them a year ago as well. So I'll be paying particular interest to that specific group of guys on our team.
So Bates has been banged up, right? Is that right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's kind of concerning, man. We got our top two.
Our
Tight
top
end.
three tight
Top
ends.
three.
I think all three are unlikely to
Cole-
play on
Cole
Saturday.
Turner got
which
rolled up on last week.
And I think they'll bring him along slowly. I think our starting tight end on Saturday may well be Mr. Samis Reyes,
Oh my God.
because behind him are Curtis Hodges, Armani Rogers, Eli Wolf, and Alex Armand, none of whom have caught a pass in the NFL.
Wow.
Well, I've heard Armani Rogers and Curtis Hodges have been pleasant surprises in camp.
Hodges, I think, will play a lot. Apparently, he's nasty. He got into a scuffle in the other yesterday, I think, at camp.
And he's 6'8", right?
No, I thought that he might be, but the Commanders have him listed at 6'8". Well,
Yeah.
I'm on a roll here. Yeah, 6'8", 240.
Yeah,
Yeah.
apparently that he has, when running with the first team, he has appeared to be almost borderline unguardable. Also, if you guys on the board, I was running some OTA threads, or in the OTA thread, I was posting some videos from the open practice and some practices, and Rogers appears to be trying to take that blocking tight end position in Bates's absence. He's been helping a lot in pass pro. He's been that kind of H-back role where you'll see him shifted into the backfield, and then he'll be picking up a blitzer or helping chip or in pass pro, or even as a lead blocker once or twice on some of the clips I've seen. So
these are the guys that serious fans should really be looking at in the preseason. Yeah. These guys who may make the roster or may end up contributing when injuries start setting in and all that. One guy that nobody's mentioned yet, everyone that you have mentioned, I agree with. Jamin Davis is, to me, probably a key to the season, how he does, but I don't expect to see much on Saturday. What I'm really looking forward to is seeing Brian Davis. I think that guy has a chance to carve a serious contributing role on this team. And the early reports that I've heard and read about coming out of camp is he looks good.
You talking about Robinson? You talking about the running back?
Yeah. What did I say?
Robinson, right?
What did I say? I didn't say Robinson.
No, you didn't say Robinson. I'm not going to pile on for you.
All right, I'm out of here. That's why I was getting the blank looks. No, the young running back. Mm-hmm. I think he has a chance to really be an impact on this team. And I just want to see those flashes with running backs. Unlike other positions, you can kind of see a guy's style and his mojo, even in preseason, how he attacks runs. Does he break tackles? Does he go down easy? I'm probably looking forward to seeing him getting 6-7 carries as much as anything on Saturday.
Yeah, because that's an individual kind of a thing. As long as he's getting something at the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
Once he breaks that, then it's all him, Mark. And I'm right there with you. I want to see what he's got. I've actually seen people suggest that he might steal Antonio Gibson's starting role. Yep. Derek's got his hand up. I have no idea. I'll be honest. I'm not paying that close attention to training camp at the moment. For a number of reasons. I mean, I kind of alluded to work, but I mean, there are other things going on, and until the games count, I have no control over it, so I don't want to get all wired about stuff.
Hey, I hate to break it to you. When they do count, you don't have any control over it either.
No, that's true. I don't. But at least when they do count, I have a legit reason to get mad, as opposed to training camp or preseason when it doesn't matter.
I think we're going to see a lot of Brian Davis. Sorry, Mark. We're going to see a lot of Brian Robinson.
You're a funny guy.
They're not going to want to risk getting Antonio banged up. McKissick is coming off an injury year. They're going to play him anyway, much. So I think we're going to see a lot of Brian Robinson and a lot of Jarrett Patterson, who I'm not even sure he makes the team, honestly. But
from what I've heard, Jonathan Williams has surpassed him in reps.
So I tell you two rookies, since we're talking rookies. I want to see Fedarian Mathis and Percy Butler on the defensive side of the ball, because both of those guys are guys that a lot of people thought we just absolutely stole in the draft. We had a lot of steals in the draft, and Sam Howell's another guy. We have an exciting rookie class. This might be one of the most exciting rookie classes we've had in a long time.
I'm actually more interested in watching Sam Howell than I am watching Carson Wentz. We've got 5-6 years of tape on Carson Wentz at the pro level. We don't have anything on Sam Howell. And I'm, I'm kind of curious as to what we actually have there. Granted, it's preseason, but is the dude making the right read? Is he hitting the open man?
See, I don't even care about that at this point. I want to see Sam Howell because I want to see if he can run within the offense, and I want to see if he's got the physical tools. We have a year to get him comfortable making the right read. You know what I mean? Like, Sam Howell was going to probably be one of my guys, one of my sleeper guys that nobody was talking about because, and I have a little fun activity that we can do after this one, but I want to see if he can get out. I want to see if he can make the right read post snap. And I want to see if he has the physical ability to succeed. He's only 6 foot tall, but I've heard he's got the biggest arm in camp.
Let me rephrase, Derek. Maybe I oversold that. I don't know. I want to see that he looks like he belongs.
That's it. Yeah, exactly.
Right. That the field isn't suddenly too big for him because now he's playing with a bunch of guys that, he's playing with an all-star team from college as opposed to, what he was playing against. So that's kind of is it too big? Is the moment too big? Is a preseason game too big? Because if it's too big.
Well, he was asked by somebody in the last couple of days. One of the reporters asked him if there was a big leap that he was having to make going from college to the pros. And he said, no, not really. So if he goes out there and looks like has deer in the headlights and he's going to have a
different answer next week.
He might.
I'm still freaked out about this no steak thing. I don't know.
He's going to get a sponsorship from Chick-fil-A. The other one I'm hoping that we get to see a little bit. I have repeatedly heard that Fuller is having a fantastic camp.
Yep.
And I've also heard that William Jackson is playing markedly better, and the secondary as a whole is playing markedly better than it did last year. So I would like to see that.
Heard those reports that the communication looks a lot better in the back, like they may actually be on the same page. And Paul mentioned this name a minute ago, and that was the other guy I wanted to mention, that I want to see what Benjamin St. Just looks like. Because when we last saw him before he got hurt, he was coming on and making plays and looking like a contributor. If he's going to be on the field a lot. If he's healthy, he's probably the number 3 corner, and we're going to be doing a lot of 3-corner sets out there. If he can come back at the level he was, and he can not get concussed or miss more time or whatever, that's a huge addition to the team.
He's playing slot in camp, isn't he?
Yeah. But they'll be moving around and mixing and matching once the game planning starts. But I really want to see physically that he looks like he's back. And I don't know, we may or may not get a chance to see that this weekend, but over the course of the preseason, I really would like to see him getting some time and looking like he's ready.
This is going to be a fun, and I rarely say this because it's the preseason, but it's going to be a fun game to watch because not only are we going to get to see hopefully Sam Howell get some significant time, but on the other side of the field, you got Baker Mayfield with 2 weeks of the playbook or whatever it is. He's probably, I would think he'd probably play half the game, maybe. And I saw a funny thing on ESPN. Ben McAdoo, who's his offensive coordinator, he apparently rated Baker Mayfield the 6th best quarterback in the 2018 draft when he was being interviewed back then, behind Darnold, Mason Rudolph, and Josh Rosen. And now he's his quarterback, or we assume.
Isn't Darnold still on that team?
Yep.
Yeah,
and Matt Corral. So Matt
Corral. They drafted Corral out of Ole Miss.
So I think that's going to be fun to watch I will predict this. I could see them, because I think their head coach is in serious trouble if they don't look better this year with all of the decisions that the Panthers have made. So I think that might be one of these where they game plan. They come out and go downfield and.
Has Carolina named a definitive starter, or
no,
is this an open?
No, but they are. but McAdoo has been raving about Baker Mayfield, raving about how well he's playing. So I don't know.
He played really well 2 years ago, and then he got hurt last year early in the season, and he played hurt all season long, and people griped about it. But
I think Darnold would have to like clearly outplay him, because you don't do what they did if you think Darnold's the answer right after bringing him in from the Jets.
Yeah, I've always thought Baker was a pretty good quarterback. I think he had the fortune and misfortune of being drafted number 1 overall. And it sort of set him on an expectation level that I don't think he's physically up to meeting. I think he's Taylor Heineke with a bigger arm, and a better PR agent. I like Baker. I think he's kind of a cool guy, but I don't think he was a number 1 overall pick. I think he'll do quite well, and I think he'll beat Sam Darnold out easily. But so our second half is probably going to be, because it's first preseason game, I guess it's going to be Matt Corral against Sam Howell. The entire second half is what I'm looking for.
Probably.
So
right.
my third question, I think we've touched on it, was originally going to be thing you're most excited about. I think we've all kind of hit on what we're most excited about. So I'm going to pivot. Washington is notorious for having the training camp heroes, the preseason show outs that everybody thinks is going to change the game.
The Ashburn All-Star, I think they call it.
Yeah, I like in the Marco Mitchells and the Lake Seastrunks. And, so I ask you guys.
Who was the linebacker? Robert McCune?
Yes, the guy that had muscles that were growing muscles that had given birth to other muscles. Yeah.
And for you other old guys out there, Babe Laufenberg.
I ask you, who is going to be the 2022 preseason standout that everybody thinks is like going to win a job and change the game forever? Paul, you're raising your hand.
Yes, I'm getting into school mode. I got to go back to work in a month. I can't believe you guys start. I know I'm going off on a crazy tangent here, but there are places in the States that have already started school a couple days ago.
My wife starts teaching again. Well, she doesn't have kids for another week, but next week she's back in the classroom. The kids are in the class the next week.
We're American, man. We're slackers. We do what we want.
My wife has kids on Monday.
Okay.
That's crazy.
Texas is known for its school system.
And I have friends locally whose kids went back to public school today. Today was their first day of school, which blows my mind. I'm like, really? What the hell? But,
yeah. We start September 7th here. But anyways, I apologize for completely derailing this.
You have it right, by the way, in my humble opinion.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah, but the guy that I think is going to be our preseason darling might be Dax Milne. I think that is a guy who can carve himself out a role on this team. And I'm really interested in seeing if he can grab one of those final receiver spots on this roster. We lost Adam Humphries a year ago, and that was a guy that just seemed to be there consistently as the season wore on. When you needed a catch, Adam Humphries was that guy. When we were having success, obviously. Could Dax Milne be an Adam Humphries type guy? Could he be someone who replaces him? There have been some positive reports in regards to his play this preseason, and I think he's going to get a lot of time out there. And yeah, that he gets my vote.
Interesting.
I would have said Cole Turner, because with all the tight end kind of injury, but then he joined the injury ranks. But I think he's got a lot of potential,
and I think he's pretty locked in.
He's got a lot of rave reviews so far from the coaches, but we'll have to see. I'm hoping we can get to see him in preseason some.
Yeah, I'm stalling because I'm trying to figure out who I would consider the Ashburn All-Star is going to be a guy who's not a draftee and not, just like a late pickup off the waiver wire or something. I'm going to go with the 6'8" tight end, because the idea of having, who I'm not going to try to name because I'll fuck it up, because that's what I do tonight. But a guy with that physical stature right now at a position that we've been hurting at for so long, if he shows anything the first couple of weeks, and continues to sort of show some attitude at camp and separate himself that way, I'm already rooting for the kid, and I've never seen him play.
We cut our behemoth quarterback
Yeah,
today.
Cole Kelly.
Cole
Cole
Kelly.
Yeah.
We
Who
barely knew you.
probably would have been my pick in this particular segment if we hadn't just cut him.
Kind of curious. I thought they might try to stash him, but I wonder if they just, maybe he can't play. I don't know. You know, it's pretty rare to, I mean, I know we got 3 quarterbacks on the roster, but I guess somebody had to go.
Yeah, there's no drama in the quarterback room, right? We know what it is. We knew who our 1 or 2 and our 3
Let's hope
are.
there is none. Let's
So
hope.
Yeah.
my softball answer is going to be Brian Robinson. I think that dude's going to show something. I've said it for a couple weeks now. I think he ends up by the bye week midseason. He's probably the guy who is the 3 down back, quote unquote, role. I don't
Wow.
think we're going to have a 3 down back role here. It's the days of Adrian Peterson are gone. But I think if you look at the traditional situational running back, he's going to be the guy that ultimately is that position. I think Gibson becomes more of a multiple threat kind of a guy. And I think Robinson's the guy that when there's 4 minutes to go in the game and you're up by 10, hopefully that happens enough times for us to actually put this, scientific experiment to work. He's the guy that's going to be your grinder. I think he's the guy that's he's going to be the one that takes the ball on 2nd and 3. Because we had maybe a 7-yard pass on 1st down. That's just the kind of offense that we have. I just think he's going to take that.
I agree with that. And I like that you added the caveat mid-season, because NFL coaches do not like starting rookie running backs because they're not comfortable that they know how to do basic pass pro pickups and blitz pickups and contribute to the overall offense. But if he shows that he can hold onto the rock and produce a little bit, I can see him splitting carries with Gibson relatively early. And I agree, by late season and late in games when we need a 1st down, I'd like to think that's our guy.
We've gone a couple of years where we really only had two running backs. We'd basically hammer Gibson until he couldn't run anymore. And then when he couldn't run anymore, we'd put JD McKissick in there, who's not really a power back either. And
then we signed 3 guys off the street.
Right. And then we'd run him until he got hurt. So it's exciting to have Robinson out there, because now maybe all of our running back can stay relatively healthy. I mean, imagine that if we had all 3 of those guys available every week. That would be an amazing thing.
One more point, the lesser known that I'm going to point out there is Derek Forrest. I think he was.
Yeah, I've heard some things about
special
him.
teams contributor last year. He ultimately got hurt, overshadowed by Cam Curl and hidden behind Bobby McCain and Landon Collins. So he never really got an opportunity. And when he got hurt, they just shelved him. I think he could be that kind of an interesting sleeper guy that in the preseason he flashes, makes a couple plays on defense, maybe makes a couple plays on specials, and then people start to wonder if we found another gem there.
It's interesting. We've talked all this time and we have yet to really mention, at least in terms of preseason, either line. We've mentioned a couple of names, but in preseason, I always go into it every year thinking what I'd like to see is what looks like a semi-cohesive unit, which always breaks apart if your offense is just running your basic off tackle and the defense has some exotic, 7-man staggered blitz, which like the Ravens do, which is why they win every preseason game ever. So you don't really know what you're looking at, but I'd like to see one of the defensive ends flash a little bit, maybe if we're on a wish list here, since Chase probably won't play the 1st quarter of the season, may not be effective until the 2nd half of the season. Somebody on the other side who make a spin move in space and take the quarterback down. Give me something to stand up about early.
I was thinking you guys were all naming things and I was listening to the names go by and I'm like, nobody's talking about either line. Nobody off the lines is making this list. It was like, you should, I really wanted to throw a name out there. And then I realized the names are the lines are fairly set.
Mathis.
We know what we've got, right? I mean, I think the only surprise to me is at the moment Schweitzer isn't a starter. Turner apparently has that right guard spot ahead of Schweitzer. And I expected Schweitzer to be the right guard, the starting right guard for the season.
Before you go any further, not to just interject, Trey Turner has not practiced in a Commander's uniform yet.
Fair. But I mean, he's
listed on the depth chart, but he has
listed
not
on the depth chart as the number one guy.
Has not had a single practice in a Commander's uniform yet. I don't know what the deal is. People were speculating he was going to retire.
You know, and then you know, we talk about the defense. We all know that as Mark mentioned, you know, Chase isn't going to be Chase for the first 4, 6, 8 games this season. You know, I'm sorry. I don't care how good medical technologies come. Yeah, I think we all have kind of forgotten that we aren't more than a decade or 15 years away from the kind of injury Chase having last year being career ending, not season ending. And these guys don't come back in a year.
Which Chase are you talking about?
Chase Young.
Okay,
Rouillet especially when
season
the team expended the best draft pick they've had in a decade on you.
Right. Yeah. You know, I mean,
they're not going to take chances with him.
Exactly. They're not going to take chances with him. And B, the athleticism involved in the position that he plays and B was drafted in don't lend themselves to him being himself for close to 18 months. We may not see the real Chase Young again until preseason next year. That's just that's just the reality. So you know, we know Sweat, we know Allen, we know Payne, we know the backup to Payne and Allen is going to be the big kid we drafted from Alabama, who's apparently having a really solid camp, and he's filling that Ioannidis role. And that when we need 3 tackles, he's the guy. Like any of us are surprised at that, right? It looks like Smith Williams is probably going to be the fill-in for Young. And so I don't know, man, I'm racking my brain and I'm looking for a surprise on either one of these 2 lines, and there isn't one. And honestly, I'm not only okay with that, I'm excited about that. I'm grinning about the fact that there aren't any surprises on either one of the lines, because for years, our lines have been a surprise, and it hasn't been a good surprise most of the time. So I think that's a positive.
I'll double down then on that. That's sort of where I was going at the beginning of my last comments. I would like to see us look like we're really competitive on the line of scrimmage, both sides, because we've seen some preseason games where it's just a jailbreak. There's nowhere to run, can't pass protect anybody. And I realize that's hit or miss in the preseason because teams aren't doing the same things and they might be matching up differently. But I'd like to walk away with a sense Saturday that those lines look pretty solid. A couple of holes. Let's watch a guy get 8 yards on first and 10 off a right tackle because there's a nice hole there that somebody opened up for him. As I recall, last preseason, it was pretty ugly. There was just nowhere for anyone to run. But yeah, the lines. If we talk a lot about skill players, and we've spent most of the offseason talking about all the skill players, if our lines are solid on both sides, this team could do something. But that might be the final ingredient is, are we competitive up front? We always think we're going to be, and then every year, at least I'm disappointed that we're not. Maybe 2022.
Not a player, but I think we spent a lot of the offseason worrying about our linebacking core, and then we didn't do a damn thing to beef up our linebacking core.
Not me, man. Not me. So, I love our linebacking core. I've been raving about them for 2 years now.
I'm going to be watching them preseason to see, like, are we getting gashed over and over and over again up the middle like we've seen happen, or are we? And then I was also going to ask, is Landon Collins still out there? Does anyone know?
He is not signed. Neither is Eric Flowers.
I'd take Landon back on a friendly deal right now.
You know, I love Flowers, but I'm not sure we need him.
Well, it depends. If Trey Turner doesn't ever touch the field, it would be nice to have him back. But I also don't think it's a need. I think there's depth there between Schweitzer, Ishmael. There's another guy that now is escaping me. He filled in at Tyler Larson.
Well, and the draft pick.
And that's Sadiq Charles.
Late, that's like a mauler.
Well,
On
Sadiq
O-line?
Charles, the Sadiq Charles experiment. We drafted him as a tackle. He
No,
played
I'm
in-
talking. I'm
You're
talking about this
Sam
year.
Cosme, Bob? Oh,
No,
this
No.
year.
This year we drafted a guard like 6th or 7th round
We did.
Yeah, it was
that
Chris
was
Paul.
projected to go higher than that.
Who is it, Paul?
It was Chris Paul.
Chris
Chris
Paul.
Paul. That's it. Yeah. See, look, Paul knows who it is.
the resident O lineman. Yeah, him and Matsko talk a lot.
I
Yeah.
didn't say his name tonight, though.
Yeah, Paul and Matsko like swap text messages every Monday morning. What'd you think, man? Is it good? Yeah, we're good. Okay.
He's already the first stud for studs, duds, and hat tips. Week 1, I guarantee you.
Is Chris Paul?
No, John Matsko.
Oh, Matsko. Yeah.
Well,
Paul-
you know, we always,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, finish the thought. I was going to go off on a different tangent.
Well, I was gonna say Paul will always figure out a way to shoehorn Matsko into that list. So
Deservedly so.
Well, I know it sounds like we're wrapping up here, which is probably a good thing, but during the regular season, we always end with predictions. Let's do a preseason prediction. I don't care about wins and losses, but one thing that we're going to be talking about next week that comes out of this game.
We're gonna
How
get
different the
gashed up the
offense
middle. And we're gonna be freaking out about our linebackers. Although I don't think we should freak out about anything in a preseason game, but
I
we-
think we're going to be talking about how different the playbook is, because as we've said, I think Scott Turner has not been able to see a lot of these plays in a live action game.
But you
and
think
he-
he's gonna show anything in the preseason? That's the only thing I would think he.
I don't think.
What are
he's
you
going
hiding
to.
it for? I think about the preseason playbook the same way I think about preseason injuries. You're worse off if they don't get reps and they suck. Okay,
Yeah,
let
but
them get
nobody,
reps,
but
take the
Derek,
risk.
if we do that, we'll be the first team that ever did. Nobody shows anything offensively in preseason.
I
ever.
see what the good teams do, because they did.
Maybe
they're
they just
getting
look
their
good
guys.
running vanilla.
They're getting their guys the good reps so that they're practicing the game situations.
But they're not running the offense they're going to be running in the regular
No,
season.
I'm not saying that. But I'm saying you can run a play out of a formation that you'll never run it out of during the regular season, but run the play so that you can see what your offense can do.
I hope you're right. I'd like to
What's
see
the
it,
old-
but I don't think
What's the old adage from Joe Gibbs? He used to run 7 plays out of 21 different formations.
Yeah.
And in preseason, he ran 2 out of 21.
Right. But guess what? He figured out what he could do with those 2 plays out of those, you know what I'm saying? Out of those 2 formations, he could figure out all 21 of those plays, and he never showed anything.
This
I just
is
wanna see-
Washington. This is Washington. Next week, we're
Yeah,
gonna
I
be
know.
talking
We're gonna
about
be
Sam Howell, because
Yeah.
Sam Howell is going to spend quarters 3 and 4 lighting it up against guys that in 5 weeks are going to be waiting tables.
Right.
And Washington is going to lose their collective mind over a third string rookie quarterback because Carson Wentz has been inaccurate in practice.
Right. Probably dead on right.
Yeah.
We got Colt Brennan all over again.
Exactly.
Well,
Rest in
I think
peace.
we're going to see maybe 2 series out of the offense. I think it's going to be really vanilla. I think you'll see Carson go deep at least once because somebody on a yacht in the Mediterranean called and said, you better throw deep once before in the preseason. I think defensively, we're going to swarm. I think that's going to be the story. I just got this funny feeling that between Jack Del Rio, all the criticism he's taken, and Sam Mills being fired and everything being shaken up, I think the defense is going to come out with a little bit of an attitude. And I think it's going to be a long night for Sam Darnold and Matt Corral and Baker for the 2 series he's in. I don't know if we'll win or lose, but I think our defense is going to look pretty sharp, pretty tough.
Which fight song version will they sing if we score a touchdown? That's the most important question of them
Just
all.
omit the words.
Yeah, just go with the music. I'd be okay.
I'm
with
going to
that.
hum. I'm going to break out a harmonica.
And harmonica.
There doesn't have to be a song. All right. What about you, Paul?
Well, the only thing that I am convinced of is that someone will try to start a quarterback controversy for week 1 in Washington.
I think
Taylor
Bob
Heineke.
already did.
Yeah, I know. But you know what? Taylor Heineke might come out and look decent for a few series, given his familiarity compared to that of Carson Wentz. And you might start having people trying to convince themselves that Taylor Heineke should start over Carson Wentz. Not that I condone that or not that I support that in any way, but I can see that happening.
It would not surprise me one bit. He's going to come out and show off that new strong arm he's been working on all off season.
But the other thing is that he's been working the receivers he's thrown to. He's been throwing to him for 4 years.
I hope they play him about as many reps as they play Carson, because I really don't want to see Taylor out there. We might need him. Let Sam Howell.
You're not going to learn anything about Heineke.
No, we know what we have in him.
Fair.
It's finally here, gentlemen. It's been a long off season.
All right, gents. Well, hopefully we'll get together. Now this is the first of 21 weeks of podcasts. Hopefully it goes to 24.
Wow.
Right? Kind of crazy to think about.
Careful.
Huh?
Careful. Don't you knock on some wood somewhere, Derek. Jeez.
I got you. I'm just messing around. Come on. My expectations are realistic. All right, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure, and we're looking forward, hopefully, to a decent season. I think it's going to be, at a minimum, it's going to be interesting, and I think we're going to learn a lot over the next couple months.
Amen.
Thanks, guys.
All right, boys.
Thanks, boys.